Tonight on KGW News, one family's escape from a fast-moving wildfire.
As soon as I stepped out, the barn is on fire. Like the fire was around us. We are surrounded.
And why this weekend's forecast has firefighters bracing for the worst. Plus, yet another rate hike. How much PGE is looking to increase your bill this time? Hey, what happened?
And the debate around trans athletes in women's sports comes to the Moda Center.
Women's spaces are sex separated for a reason.
Trans women belong in sports.
While inside, the Portland Fire face off against the Fever and WNBA superstar Caitlin Clark. But first, to breaking news on this Friday and a fatal motorcycle crash on eastbound I-84 in East Portland. You're looking live at the ODOT camera along that stretch of interstate at Northeast 122nd. Authorities say the motorcyclist crashed on the off-ramp just before 9:30 and died at the scene. It does not appear any other vehicles were involved right now. A couple of on and off ramps there remain closed. Now at 11, a KGW weather impact alert with Oregon's near record wildfire season at risk of becoming even more disastrous. The National Weather Service issuing a red flag warning for east of the Cascades for most of Saturday, calling it a particularly dangerous situation. Rare words there, setting up the potential for rapid fire spread for new or ongoing fires. We're glad you're with us tonight. I'm David Molko. We'll check in with Celine Stevens tracking those elevated fire weather conditions in just a moment. But first to Jake Holter near Madras, where amidst the growing loss from the bench fire near Warm Springs, it appears crews are making progress.
It was hellacious.
Enzo Gonzalez had no idea this year's trip to his mom's house would be the last time he saw it standing. Saturday night, the house engulfed by the bench fire after it jumped Highway 26.
As soon as I stepped out, the barn is on fire. Like the fire was around us. We are surrounded, so everybody's grabbing animals, trying to get in the house or trying to get in the car, pull out. The horses were stuck, so I had to run over to the horses, let them out.
All three horses survived, but with significant burns. Gonzalez says thankfully all their loved ones and animals survived, but the memories in the house are gone.
We got back up there and about 98% of the land was gone. Photo albums and quilts and all that stuff was gone. So pretty much everything from, my mom's past is gone.
Gonzalez starting a GoFundMe to help his mom rebuild. Since the weekend, firefighters have made significant strides in containing the bench fire.
We're looking really good here, creating lines around. That's what the black is, and that's where these are their containment lines.
On Wednesday, containment was only at 9%. Friday, it's 32% contained.
Starting to focus in on here. Don't want this to cross the river. We've been putting in fire line to protect that from happening. The past couple of nights was feeling really strong there.
Nearly 900 people actively working to fight these flames. The biggest challenge with this fire, the wind.
That we have to adapt to when the winds change, and that can happen throughout the day. That's not today it's one way, the next it's another way. It's changing.
Firefighters staying intense at Madras High School, a community thankful for their hard work. Jake Holter, KGW News.
Okay, containment there now reported at 47%. Team coverage continuing with Celine Stevens, tracking the red flag warnings, the winds, and our KGW weather impact alert. Celine, this particularly dangerous situation, to use the words of the National Weather Service, it's essentially a code red.
David, definitely. I mean, like you mentioned, we're having the strong winds, we have the warm temperatures, we have the low humidity. That is just recipe for these wildfires to continue to grow and to spread, and we are seeing that tomorrow. But right now, taking a live look at our sky camera here in the Rose City, it's 69 degrees outside. It was a hot day here at home and a hot day in other areas too, like in the Dalles. They're included in that red flag warning too that goes into effect on Saturday, and you'll just see how much of the state is seeing that warning. Obviously, up near the Dalles, Pendleton, LeGrand, and all the way down to Central Oregon, like near Bend as well, and Madras. We're also seeing an air quality advisory too in those areas, and also now in eastern Clackamas County because of that wildfire smoke that's blowing into the area and impacting those regions. So that's something we're continuing to track. And then taking a look actually at our wind speeds as we get into Saturday morning, you'll see the Dalles already at 31-mile-per-hour wind speeds, getting up to nearly 40 miles per hour by Saturday afternoon. Those are strong wind speeds, and again, paired with that low humidity, that creates a dangerous situation. But as we get into the next day or so, so again, that's what we're tracking. That red flag warning, air quality is not looking the best. We're seeing moderate for unhealthy for sensitive groups. Over to the east, even unhealthy and hazardous. But David, here locally, temperatures are going to be going down, or you might even see some shower activity tomorrow. We'll talk more about all of that in the full forecast.
Yeah, feeling thankful for that. Thanks, Celine. Meanwhile, the question of how to pay for all the firefighting efforts is weighing heavy on lawmakers after FEMA denied federal funds for 2 of the state's largest fires. The estimated cost of fighting just those 2 so far, over $80 million. Team coverage continuing with Alma McCarty. Alma, both Democrats and Republicans want that decision explained and reversed.
Yeah, David, this afternoon I spoke with State Senator David Brock Smith, who wrote a letter to FEMA officials requesting immediate reconsideration when it comes to aiding the East Evans Creek and Roe Creek complex fires. This comes just days after Democratic Senators Jeff Merkley and Ron Wyden blasted the decision.
On Friday, FEMA authorized the use of federal funds, fire management assistance grants, to combat the Fox Fire burning in Baker County, Oregon. Federal officials finding it threatened to cause such destruction as would constitute a major disaster, the 4th such declaration this fire season.
This is an unprecedented fire season, right? And we're not even in August yet, and we still have 2 months of fire season to go.
However, 2 major wildfires, the East Evans Creek in the Rogue Valley and the Roe Creek complex in Central Oregon, were denied this FEMA funding, stunning lawmakers on both sides of the aisle. Senators Wyden and Merkley questioning why in a letter to FEMA, arguing both wildfires met the threshold for aid, and Oregon needs everything it can to fight them.
We're working to mobilize every asset possible in terms of both the firefighters and fire equipment. I'm very concerned about the Forest Service running out of funding, so I'm working with Secretary Rollins, the Agricultural Secretary, to address that.
State Senator David Brock Smith, the Republican nominee for the U.S. Senate running against Senator Merkley, also demanding answers from FEMA.
We need to make sure that we have the clarity within FEMA and the FMAG process because we are going to be using more of that, unfortunately, as we move forward with this fire season.
He's asking for a reversal on the call to deny funding, writing there are real consequences, that counties and rural fire districts cannot afford delays.
Now, if FEMA wants to change that criteria in the future, then let's have a robust discussion about it when we do so. But let's not do that during wildfire season.
And we did reach out to FEMA about the denial of federal assistance on these 2 fires. In a statement, a FEMA spokesperson wrote that they didn't meet the strict statutory thresholds at the time of the state's request. David?
Though perhaps bipartisan action could get results. Thanks, Helma. Let's get you caught up on tonight's other headlines now. Investigators are trying to figure out who and why someone shot a gun inside a Clackamas Town Center movie theater. Deputies say they got multiple calls describing what sounded like a gunshot inside a Cinemark theater last night around 10. They evacuated the theater and then, yes, found evidence of a single gunshot. Deputies say they briefly detained someone, but later released them. If you know anything, contact the Clackamas County Sheriff's Office. Oregon's second biggest school district, Salem-Keizer, is considering closing up to 8 elementary schools. That's because of declining enrollment. Leaders say they plan to look at criteria like a building's age and cost to operate. Among other factors, they'll release a potential list in October with a final vote by the school board in December, with closures set to take effect in the summer of next year. And Portland General Electric, PG, is proposing yet another rate increase starting next year. The utility says it'll ask for an overall 4.8% rate hike for the average residential customer. That's a jump of over $8 a month. PG calls the hike necessary for infrastructure upgrades. If approved by Oregon's Public Utilities Commission, the new rate would go into effect next summer and would mark the 8th consecutive annual increase. All right, let's talk about the Portland Fire now. Not the game just yet, but what transpired before the face-off against the Indiana Fever this evening outside Mona Center. That's where people gathered to rally around the Fever's Sophie Cunningham in her recent comments that transgender athletes should not be permitted to compete in girls and women's sports. There were also people protesting that stance, and Cunningham was booed inside on the court. This comes after a Fever game in Seattle last week, one that led the WNBA to suspend the Seattle Storm's co-owner after she apparently confronted a pair of fans who supported Cunningham's position. Catherine Cook is here with a closer look at how that conversation played out here tonight. Catherine.
There were a lot of passionate people out there tonight, David. That includes an Olympian who says she got berated for taking a stand similar to Sophie Cunningham's a few years ago. Both sides tonight telling us they feel misunderstood by the other. Outside the Moda Center Friday, Sophie Cunningham was the literal poster child for separate-sex sports. The Indiana Fever Guard growing more outspoken on her desire to keep transgender athletes from competing in girls' and women's sports.
No, I don't know if I would have done that if I was still competing. I just utmost respect for her to speaking up.
Inga Thompson is a three-time Olympian in cycling. She says growing up, finding space to compete in a male-dominated sport was tough. She fears allowing transgender athletes to compete against cisgender women threatens access to fair competition.
And there is a place for trans people. There is a place for them. I mean, we should have sports for everybody, but women's spaces are sex separated for a reason. And it's because of our biology. And we are not small men, and men with low testosterone are not women.
You can't identify people by gender. There's also no scientific proof that trans people are better at sports.
Mac Voss is a Fire season ticket holder but sold their tickets to the Fever game. Their focus tonight is just supporting trans people.
Trans women belong in sports.
Any space for a transgender only category?
I just don't think that would make sense. There's not enough people to participate in a level of sport.
Inside the arena, Fire coach Alex Sarama focused on X's and O's. He says the trans conversation didn't come up in practice. For the team, it was business as usual and gratitude.
When I think about Portland and what it means to live here, it's inclusivity, it's respect, and that's why I'm so proud to be here.
And tonight, Cunningham said she's not concerned that these rallies outside Fever games are a distraction for her team. She said, "I'm here to play basketball, but I'm also here to be me," noting that she wouldn't dim her light just because people might not agree with her. David.
Catherine Cook reporting there. Thanks, Catherine.